map come into play, although that's not actually going to be the case in this best 3, as there isn't one selected. But here we go, Kings Row first on the cards, and I feel like it's only appropriate, being the ESL UK Premiership. Why not be the map that is here in the heart of London?
And now I'm going to be watching Chipser on this defense. He played May last time on Kings Row. He completely controlled the game, communicated with his teammates well, and said, look, I'm going to wall off here, I'm going to force players into this position, I'm going to completely zone out our opposition. On the other side, we've got Fletch, who's also going to run a May on offense, so we are going to see that kind of May-off of these ice walls and just trying to segregate those players and trying to control the game, and it's going to be whoever can maybe pick off the other one first. It's just about being annoying as well, using that ice block, jumping into fights, just surviving, allowing your teammates to put damage on people that are trying to kill you, but you're just being annoying little May.
Well, here we go. I've got to say, eyes are going to be peeled for Wacko Jacko as well on Team Project. He's on that Reaper. And we'll see whether he's going to be able to have a big effect. I think Reaper, especially on this first point, can be absolutely huge for these two teams. If you can get a fantastic Death Blossom, it's such an open area, there's very little to protect you. But here we go, the charges coming on through. They're actually going to collide heads, I think, there, as it is going to be 1-for-1 so far. But Christopher finds one for himself as well. And so far, this is a fantastic start coming out from Team Project. And nerdRage really struggling on the attack.
Yeah, and nerdRage just played into Team Project's plan there. Chipser walled off the Reinhardt of Emo. Emo was just stuck, and he was a sitting duck for the damage of Team Project. And now Team Project have the advantage, as nerdRage are just they're pushing without all of their teammates. I think everyone, they might have recuperated now. We do see Lucio joining the battle as Wacko is joining in. They're just ice walls flying everywhere, and nerdRage are just getting... They've managed to wall off Team Project, and now they have a 6v4 advantage. Yeah,
they certainly do, and look at this, just wiping up these players. There's nothing that Project can do about it on this one, and the point will be captured here. The respawns will not be quick enough, and I think Project are well aware of that fact, and will just back away and try and set up their next defensive position. They're going to allow the squad of nerdRage to push up through these streets, and I like that we've had so far 2 team fights and it's 1 apiece right now. This is a much closer series already.
Yeah, I was questioning how quickly nerdRage were pushing in, but then I realized why they were doing it. One of the players of Team Project had gone down, so nerdRage knew they had the advantage. Regardless, they just needed to push in as quickly as possible. They were able to win that team fight, as Death Blossom and Nanoboost will come in for Suspect, and he takes down 4 members.
Beautiful.
Reinhardt finishes off the 5th.
Suspect, you absolute god. Perfect flank position. Nobody checks him at all, and Team Project are obliterated right there by the Nano Boost. Fantastic stuff coming out from him, as well as from King JC there as well. And just, I mean, reading their opponents like a book, I think, is the term for that one, because Team Project did not see it coming, and I don't know why they didn't see it coming. That's kind of your standard play at this point, but they are going to be punished very heavily for it.
Yeah, we did see Reinhardt trying to stop it, but it just wasn't able to, as Blizzard and... sorry, it will come down to Blizzard, and actually it's going to stop pretty much everyone in their tracks. I got a little bit panicked. I thought suddenly everyone was going to run into that Blizzard, and it does work out well for nerdRage. They're just utilizing all of their ultimates perfectly. The Graviton Surge in combination with the Blizzard is just too strong, and Team Project just fell to it. And this is a fantastic push from nerdRage. I said that nerdRage are a very aggressive team, and it was going to work well, but I was expecting Project to put up a better defense here.
Suspect already very far forward on that Reaper, waiting for another opportunity. Doesn't have his ultimate available. Will get caught out as well, but there's a nice Graviton Surge onto all 6. There's the Earth Shatter as well, and this will be an instant wipe coming on through from Team Project. We thought nerdRage's Death Blossom was good. Wacko Jacko is going to be able to repeat it. He's not actually called Wacko Jacko, but he is called Jack, so I'm just going to start calling him that. But either way, fantastic stuff coming out from Project, and you can see that both of these teams very clearly know how to use their combos very effectively.
Yeah, they definitely do, but Nano Boost is going to come in on the Reinhardt of Emo, and he is just charging in, swinging. He's going to build up his ultimate, use the Earth Shatter to try and take down this opposing Reinhardt, and he does do just that. But Sound Barrier will come out from Tomsy, so he's going to be able to keep a few of his teammates alive of Project, but all of the nerdRage players are going down one by one now, as it's just too strong, as Sev Azaya is just picking off everything, and Chipser doesn't even have to use his ultimate there, so this is good. Team Project are able to save a couple of those ultimates. They didn't have to use the Nano Boost, and nerdRage, despite using a Nano Boost, they will lose that team fight.
Well, now it's time for nerdRage to try and pull themselves together a little bit here. Suspect is going to have that Death Blossom available, and Deansy very shortly will have his Graviton Surge, so maybe that's what they need to get back into this one. But Chipster is not going to give them time to build up those ultimates. He goes super deep for this one and will be just sweeping up the team fights. That is going to be a sword and a hammer, wiping out multiple members of the likes of nerdRage, who are just sent straight back to their spawn. And these are not even long team fights. This is just utter dominance from Project. Yeah,
both teams using their ultimates extremely well. We do see Graviton Surge in the hands of both teams, so we might just see a Graviton Surge off here where both teams just end up just gravitated in that bubble there. Kind of, that's even a word. Well, there we go. Then they both come out.
Right. This is exactly the case, and it's going to be King JC that goes down. Christopher once again being a huge factor in this fight, but Emo is going to be chasing him down. Wacko on top of the payload, just trying to find these members, but the Nano Beast did go down onto Suspect. Couldn't finish off all of the players he would have liked, though. Project are going to be respawning a little bit closer, I think, than nerdRage at this stage. And Suspect will get finished off by Chipset, who charges straight up through. But nice little shot from Fletch. Will be able to finish off Wacko. Can't find any more targets, but we'll be able to get some time on the payload.
Yeah, Fletch with the change to McCree. I wonder whether he's going to be able to get a nice little good Deadeye off, especially with Graviton Surge. If he does manage to get one of them, that could be what they need to push. But now Chipsa has another Dragon Blade, and he is just pushing in and trying to slice everything. But the Sound Barrier will come out as a counteraction. But he's still able to get a few hits, but McCree won't go down. McCree doing really well. Fletcher, fantastic stuff staying alive there.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate dash there coming out from him, and it meant that he didn't quite get his full Dragon Blade off, couldn't finish anybody off, and the payload's still in a stalemate right now. Nice flashbang, but it is going to be Sound Barrier coming out from Team Project. They're definitely wanting to protect this one. And Wacko with a beautiful Death Blossom on top of the Nano Boost. That's 4 kills for him. Picks up a 5th as well. And Wacko goes absolutely wacky on the team of nerdRage.
The speed of these attacks and these team fights is absolutely unreal. Both teams, it's clear what they want to do. They know their game plan, and they're just trying to counteract each other. They know what the other team are trying to do. And at the moment, Project are doing well with this last hold, but I feel if nerdRage can just win one fight, it might be enough to push Project onto the back foot. As we see Suspect getting the Nano Boost. Now he'll come in, but he gets sucked into the Graviton Surge, so he won't be able to get any of those kills. But it does look like nerdRage are going to push forward. Just 3 members left for Project now, and Darius and Tomsy, the 2 support characters, are all that's left to try and hold this payload.
Yeah, they are going to continue to contest, though. They're just buying as much time as possible and doing a fantastic job of it. Tomsy's still surviving somehow. Will finally get finished off. Suspect grabs himself another couple of kills, but there are members available. Look at them, all 4 stacked up, waiting for the respawns of their supports, and then they will charge in to get this contestation. 1 minute 25 on the clock right now, and it will be Christopher pushing forward just to halt that payload, make sure it's not too close, and that is going to be actually King JC almost gets taken out as he pushes very aggressively forward. Christopher very low and does get actually taken out. Suspect finds 2 for himself. This is a fantastic position coming out for nerdRage. They found 4. Darius is going to go down as well, and that is going to be the round. nerdRage, they managed to get all 3 capture points, but it is with only 1 minute and 5 left on the clock.
And what was fantastic at the end there, one of the DPS characters, I didn't quite see who it was, but nerdRage, they were waiting. Reinhardt just had his Earth Shatter ready, but he knew that the shield from his opposing Reinhardt from Christopher was still up. So he communicated with his teammates. He said, look, take down that shield, then my Earth Shatter's ready. Then he slammed it down as soon as the DPS did their job, and unfortunately 3 members just completely fell for that Earth Shatter, and Project weren't able to survive. And good work from nerdRage, especially considering how strong Project were in this first game that we saw today. I was expecting perhaps a little bit of a better defense from them, but nerdRage really showing up and showing that their offensive lines are just incredible. They're just incredibly strong, and I'm really impressed with them, especially the likes of Fletch, especially the likes of Emo, just really using those characters to their full effect.
Yeah, I've got to say, Emo has been really impressing me here today on that Reinhardt. He's been an absolutely fantastic player, but to be honest, I can't really point out a specific weak point in either of these lineups. Both of these teams have been doing fantastically, and I think the fact that there's a minute left after that push, but 3 captures, says a lot about this matchup, because I think that's pretty much a level pitched field right now. If you are going to manage to get all 3, but with barely any time remaining, that almost guarantees that the next half is going to be almost equally close.
Project at the moment, Wacko is kind of hovering over this Roadhog for the offense here. That'll be an interesting choice. He's definitely good at initiating those team fights, and to be honest, it might be a good choice because all the team fights were kind of happening where both teams were grouped up. There was never a point where anyone was kind of caught off guard and there was any advantage. It was always just a 6 versus 6. It was an ultimate face-off. Perhaps Project is saying, look, Wacko, you try and get one of those hooks. If you can hook one of those support characters out, we instantly have the advantage, and the team fight should be ours.
absolutely. And the key thing as well, if you can get a flank on the go with this Roadhog, Reinhardt's shield won't block them at that point. And there we go, let's see what they're going to do to actually get themselves into this map and onto the scoreboard. It's Team Project on the attack now from our blue side. It's going to be nerdRage trying to hold this defense on. Well, we saw 2 team fights on this first point when it was nerdRage attacking 1 strong defense and then 1 strong attack. Let's see if it's going to be a similar situation right now. Here we go, the attack on the go. Wacko on this front line, just looking for hooks, but he's waiting for the cooldown. Will get frozen up there, but not for too long. We'll be able to get out of that situation. Fletch with a nice ice wall, keeps himself alive, but Chipser is there on the Hanzo, picking up kills for himself with that bow and arrow, and it's looking like a very strong attack to start things off for Project. They're over halfway to capturing this very first point, and I think this might just be a retreat coming out from nerdRage. The second the nano boost comes out, so does the sleep dart.
Yeah, Darius, that's absolutely fantastic work from him. You need to shut down those nano boosts and that sleep dart using to full effect. I love the choices of Roadhog. I love the choices of Hanzo. Hanzo works very well to what Widow used to do on this map. He's just been picking out the support characters, not letting them kind of just sit in the open and not taking any damage. He's been picking them off well. He might change the further we get here, but he's going to be getting that ultimate. He's going to be getting that Dragon very soon, and that will do some real damage to nerdRage, especially if they all group up on this payload.
Here we go, they are going to be pushing on forwards. Fantastic start for them. Quicker start than what nerdRage had. But let's see if they can actually keep up this performance right now. Going to be pushing on forward, and a similar hold to what we saw out of Project, where they just back away from the streets. They don't want to fight there. Well, this is going to be a fantastic combo. The Graviton Surge on top of the Dragon Strike, but it's not actually quite going to be enough, I don't think. And here we go, the counter combo as Graviton Surge comes the other way on top of the Blizzard. This will be the players melting away. Tomsy trying to escape with his life, but I don't know if he'll actually be able to. Will get finished off by the lasers, although still just bouncing around here. 3 of them also on incredibly low HP, and will be able to jump away with their lives. But DZ still holding on to this point, making sure that the payload cannot be moved.
Yeah, Chips is going to be thinking, what happened? I used my Dragon there and no one died, and it's because no one got caught in that Graviton Surge. As now another Graviton Surge does come out, and we will see the nano boost onto Zai, actually. So Deansy's going to push in and try and do as much damage as possible. He's got Reinhardt behind him. He tried to get aggressive, but unfortunately the sleep dart came in, so he wasn't able to do too much, as now Project are in a 3v5 situation, and Wacko is just going to be frozen up, but he is trying to heal himself up, but it's not going to be enough, and that will be a team kill for nerdRage.
Yeah, Fletch with a little wave goodbye as well as they finish off those players. And nerdRage back in control of the game. And this time, we didn't really see Project able to hold the defense at that point in the map as well as we've just seen out of nerdRage. So Project, they've kind of got their work cut out. However, they do have 5 ultimates available. So I would think that should be enough for them to just take this fight. But Suspect waiting in the wings and will be able to get his Death Blossom up. Picks up one for himself, but immediately hooked out there. And will have to just back away from the fight. Fantastic play from Wacko. And the rest of the squad of Project will be able to pick up a whole lot of kills. Suspect goes down. Fletch and Ginger, the last 2 remaining, but won't be able to contest this for long. And the payload will be pushed on forward. This will be another checkpoint coming on through for Project. And it's even Stevens on the board right now. They've still got a decent amount of time to work with. This could well be a 3 for 3.
And look at this charge continuing. They're just continuing to push this payload. They're getting aggressive. They don't want to allow nerdRage to set up. They want to push them back to their spawn so they can get a little bit further with this payload. And actually, what's really important from Wacko is Roadhog. Yes, okay, you can get those pulls and you can get those initiates of the team fights. As actually the Blizzard comes down as well as the nano boost. We will see Emo charging. He uses his Earth Shatter as well, but it doesn't actually catch any players. And now another Graviton Surge comes out. It's all kicking off here, but only 2 members of nerdRage have gone down so far, so Team Project are actually in the favour.
Yeah, fantastic retreat coming out from them. They back away when the ultimates are available. Then once they've gone down, they push straight back in. Chips are doing a fantastic job on the attack here, doing a lot of damage for his team on that Hanzo. And actually found himself in a close range 1v1 against the Reaper. Not a fantastic situation, but he's happy to take this one on and actually forces his opponent away. So fantastic stuff there on the Hanzo. And a fantastic flick as well coming out from him onto that player coming out of spawn. The payload almost in at this point. Dragon Strike comes on through from Chips, and Christopher backed away at this point. And they need to win out this team fight if they want to really have an advantage moving into overtime. Christopher does get frozen up. Fletch just doing his very best to contest this payload and keep the fight going. King JC does get locked up and shut down in the end as Fletch uses that ice block on top of the point. but won't actually get hit by the charge from Christopher. All in all, though, Project still surviving this fight. There's a Graviton Surge, though, that might just change that fact, and they will be wiped out. Wacko, the last man remaining, but with barely any HP, will be finished off.
Yeah, Project were doing so well, but now they get to push once again, and they have some ultimates to work with. Quickly, what I was touching on earlier with Roadhog is that just being able to stop that Reaper with that hook sometimes can be so important, especially if he's nano boosted and you manage to hook him and he's not able to finish off that Death Blossom. That's what Wacko's been doing really well. He's been really using it as good crowd control. As Earth Shatter does come down, Sev's got no health remaining and she will go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Project are getting obliterated in this fight. Not a good situation for them. Nice little hook, but you can't one-shot a Reinhardt, I'm afraid, Wacko, and he's going to have to back away from this one. Chipser and Christopher both go down as well. He will just have to regroup with the rest of his team here. And I like that. Not going into the spawn room, allowing Darius to actually heal him up so they can stack those ultimates available. But Chipser has actually swapped onto that Pharah. And interestingly, nobody swapping to Mercy. Usually when you see the Pharah, it's very common that you see a support going to Mercy as well. But here we go. The Graviton Surge is coming on through and a lot of damage. Whole Hog along with a Nano Boost will come on through. Chipser and Wacko both find themselves a kill, but the Blizzard will freeze up a lot of these players, and that's going to be Wacko going down. Suspect is going to be the one that's sweeping this fight up as he's got a Nano Boost now, and Chipser up in the sky, but with barely any HP remaining, he's going to have to back away. But the double kill with a single rocket comes on out, and he's turned this fight right on its head. They're staying back in this game right now. Project are not out of the fight just yet. There's another one for Chipser. Fantastic work on this Pharah.
Expect a quick change to McCree, yet we do see Fletch changing over to McCree because they need to deal with this Pharah, and instantly he targets the skies. He says we cannot allow this Pharah to survive. As soon as she gets that justice from above, it's going to be absolutely devastating, and Ashley comes out now from Chipser. She doesn't pick up a kill just yet. Doesn't get anything, but Emo will get the double, and this will be the advantage now for nerdRage, and Project might have to back off, and they've only got 1 minute 10 left, Munchables.
Yeah, that was a good play from Chipser as well. Pushes himself away from the fight, realizes his team has lost, and just kills himself with a rocket so that he can respawn ASAP, and actually just changes heroes immediately as well. He's going for the Genji this time. I think he realizes that this is going to need an all-or-nothing play if they want to tie the game right now against nerdRage. They've already got a worse time than their opponents. They've got some serious work to do if they want to push this payload home. And
actually, they've got no ultimates to work with. Actually, neither team do. Actually, Fletch now actually has Deadeye, so you might see him try and just utilize this to try and zone out his opponents. Might try and combine it with the Graviton Surge. There's a Graviton Surge. Deadeye will come out. He's trying to pick off as many as he can. He gets 2 members, but then he gets taken down by Chipser as Genji. Yeah, and that's the beauty of the Genji. You can take out players like the McCree, and here we go. It's going to be Chipser over to the side. He's able to build up so much Dragon Strike from that Graviton Surge. It's going to be King JC, though, finding one onto Wacko. Not a good situation for Project when it's their Graviton Surge and they lose the kill, but Nano Boost onto Chipser. Can he finish anyone off? Dragon Strike finally coming on through. He needs to pick up players here. This is so crucial that he's able to use this ultimate to great effect. He only manages to get 1 kill with it, though, but the rest of his team is going to be chiming in as well. There's another one onto Suspect. They've got to push this payload. It is now or never. They are into overtime, and they've got to get to this final checkpoint if they want to stay in this series. It is 2-3 on the scoreboard, and they're going to push straight back on in nerdRage, making sure to keep this overtime as short as possible. Yeah, if Suspect can get in with this Death Blossom, this could be what changes the game. It could be the last hold that you need. He's just waiting. He knows that he needs to just pick his time absolutely perfectly if he is going to be able to save this game. Graviton Surge does come down as well as the Nano Boost. He's Nano Boosted now, so he will have the Death Blossom, but he's not used it yet because he went into Wraith form to stay alive. He takes down 2 members. Reinhardt is still alive, though he needs to work on him to make sure he goes down. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Earth Shatter, though, will be enough to finish off the game in the end. It is going to be 3-3, not a single second remaining on the clock for Project. That was such an unfortunate combo at the end there, when we saw the Wraith form come at exactly the same time as the Nano Boost, and that is a classic example of just a slight bit of miscommunication. If that had just been communicated ever so slightly better, they maybe could have won that game if Wraith form hadn't come out, and maybe that would have been enough to just wipe out the likes of Team Project. But either way, 3-3 on the board. nerdRage with a slight advantage. I really thought nerdRage were going to take it, and they made some bold plays. At one point, the second to last push that Team Project made, the Nano Boost actually went down onto Ginger as Lucio, because clearly King JC saw that Ginger was low and he knew how important it was to keep his other support alive, so he Nano Boosted Lucio up. They all got caught in the Graviton Surge, but because Lucio was still alive, he then used his sound barrier, which kept the whole of nerdRage alive, allowed them to push Project off a little bit, but unfortunately that last push was just too strong for Team Project in the end. But nerdRage will feel very good about themselves. The fact they've managed to hold Team Project, who are possibly the favourites for this group, made them go all the way to overtime before they took that third checkpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 10 seconds until this one is going to be underway. Team Project on the defense of this first point. We saw them hold out once against nerdRage the first time here on this map, and let's see whether nerdRage are going to be able to do something a little bit better with the situation here. If they can get just an immediate attack and fantastic push straight from the word go, they will be in fantastic stead as they had that minute over their opponents. But here we go, the game is underway, and it's going to be Fletch on the hand zone, just trying to find a headshot, trying to find a pick to start things off right. But here we go, a nice fight coming out from them. Suspect they want to start things off with this cowboy, I can't remember his name, McCree. I nearly called him Graves because I played too much League of Legends, but here we go. Another couple of kills going either way. Deansy on the front line will have to back away because of the damage coming out from Chipser. He's doing a fantastic job on the way, landing the headshots with those icicles. And it is going to be still this defense holding strong at this stage.
Yeah, Chips are doing really well as actually Nano Boost now comes out onto Roadhog, but also the Blizzard just to try and zone him a little bit. He manages to hook Zaya, so Deansy's trying to stay alive here. He doesn't have a whole hog to use with that Nano Boost, but he is doing well to stay alive on this point. There's now Earthshatter comes down from Team Project, and they're doing everything to keep nerdRage off this point.
Yeah, they absolutely are. This is going to be Fletch that gets shut down in the end as well. And Team Project, I think they've won on the defense right now as the rest of the team just scrabbling to get over there. We've got a Genji on the point, but I don't know how long he's going to actually last as Hemo gets crushed against the wall. Overtime ticking on out. Can they finish it? No, Deansy jumping in on the Winston, but can't quite find himself on the point. And there it is. 3-3 is the final score. So, in that scenario, that means we have a draw on our hands, and that means we're going to be going to a single point of a capture point, I believe.
All nerdRage had to do was get that point. If they got that first payload, then they would have won the game. That's all they had to do. But fantastic defense out of Project, and credit to Chipser, actually. He was defending that point perfectly. nerdRage were doing everything. We saw how hard they were trying with that Roadhog just to stay alive. Unfortunately, the Nano Boost came onto the Roadhog, and he didn't have Hog to kind of work with that Nano Boost. He got frozen by Blizzard, and yeah, Project doing incredibly well to stay alive there because they were looking down and out with a minute and just that first checkpoint to get.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to... we will be able to find out. Yeah, it is going to be Lijiang Tower as our tiebreaker for this one, as the draw did come out on King's Row. So we'll see which team is going to be able to, you know, win out this tiebreaker. And, you know, it's a tricky situation when you end up on a capture point as kind of a tiebreaker for a map, because after such a long, hard map, when both teams have been so even the entire time, it's going to be a painful situation to know that it comes down to kind of such a little advantage.
Well, we said we weren't going to see any control in this series.
Well, we
have been rewarded with Lijiang Tower, and I mean, what's impressed me about this game is just how well both of these teams approach team fights. There is never a point where anyone gets caught out. They are constantly as a six. They know what they have to do. They know what their opponent are trying to do, and it's just these battles of who can use their ultimates in better ways. And it's the team, it's the changes of composition that's really impressed me as well. We saw that McCree coming out very quickly as soon as Farrell was doing any real damage. So credit to these guys, they are playing out of their skin at the moment and going to a tiebreaker for the first time in the UK Premiership.
Yeah, absolutely. Our very first tiebreaker here in Group B. It's going to be Lijiang Tower, just a single point as well. And we'll be able to kick this game off. And, well, this is a very important point, because this is only a best of three. Whoever can win that first game in a best of three really sets themselves apart from their opponents, and it just puts you in a very comfortable position. Like, it kind of takes a lot of the pressure off in a series like this, because let's remember, this is the series in the winners bracket. This is both teams still with a lifeline, but whoever loses this series immediately loses that lifeline. They go down to the lower bracket, and a single extra loss will mean that they're out of the tournament. So neither team wants to be going down here.
Of course,
and a singular capture point to decide it. It's going to be a very stressful map, I think, for these two teams.
It's going to be very hard to swallow for nerdRage, because nerdRage were not only so close to keeping Project out, for stopping them to get to that 3, then they had that 1 minute to win the game. They were given that chance, and they just couldn't get to that first payload, and it was unfortunate for them. So if they were to lose this tiebreaker now, that's going to do crazy things to your momentum, crazy things to your morale. You're going to be down and out. You're going to be thinking, we probably should have won that one. then you get the arguments between teams. That's when you're like, guys, what could have we done right? Just focus on the next game. Pretend that that game didn't even happen now, and just pretend this is Control. Just know that you need to go 1-0 up.
Well, we've got a tweet from nerdRage Hybe, who says, let's go nerdRage Pro Overwatch boys, make us proud. So clearly a teammate or one of the players for nerdRage on a different team. I can't say I know personally who Hybe is, but thank you for your support there. And it's good to see that the fans at home are saying who they are supporting here today. And I think nerdRage very much in need of the support right now going into this tiebreaker. I want to hear you guys cheering at home. If I can't hear you through my headset, you're not cheering loud enough. But we'll see who's going to be able to take this one. We are just waiting for one of the players to just ready up. I think one of the players sat to AFK for a second or something along those lines before we can actually get into this tiebreaker. But Lijiang Tower, this is a very different map to what we've just seen on Kings Row. You know, a hybrid versus a control point, two very different metas, I think it's safe to say.
It's going to change the composition as well, what we're going to see. I mean, typically with all these payloads and these hybrids, you get your Reinhardts, but in Control, you'll get a Winston. Instead, it does look like we have another tweet from the Ninja Kitty. It says, I think that nerdRage Pro will win. Well, I think you're in for a good call there. I was thinking Project were going to kind of dominate this group, but nerdRage have responded well. They've shown that they can really kind of fight with the big boys, and in theory, they did better on that map. They won that map in a way, but they weren't able to get the actual secured win, and now they have to go into this tiebreak.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Lijiang Tower is going to be the decider, and the players have jumped on to the map. So I think it's about time that we did too. We've had two tweets saying that we've got fans of nerdRage at home, and let's see whether Team Project are going to be able to prove those fans wrong, or whether it is going to be nerdRage reigning supreme here in the first game of this best of three, with a Lijiang control point to decide who will win out the Kings Row tie that we just saw for ourselves. And here we go.
Now, for the first time today, we are going to see 3 tanks coming out from nerdRage, and this is exactly what we saw in the pro scene. You've got your Winston, and you have your Xayah to back him up, put the bubble on him when he jumps in, but you've also got Roadhog. Especially on this map on the bow, you can pull people across down into that hole that you can see just to the right of your screen there, and that can be absolutely fatal if you manage to fall down one of those holes. On the other side, for Team Project, they are just going to go for the 2 tanks, and again with the Winston rather than the Reinhardt. And really what your aim is to jump on that back line with Winston, have the support from your Xayah, and then communicate with your own front line to make sure that you're targeting whoever is weakest of that back line. As now Wacko's going to get aggressive, pushing into this control point.
Yeah, nice positioning from him, but nice little dodge as well onto that first hook. So fantastic little bit of play on the Tracer from him, but Fletch on this front line trying to finish off some of these players, trying to actually do some damage to these tanks, which is what Reaper is oh so good at. But nobody actually going down for either of these teams just yet. The Suspect pushing back onto the point. Suspect, as far as I can tell, only playing characters that have those shotguns. And we are now going to see a nano boost already coming on out. I believe that was onto Emo, and he is going to be able to push very aggressively onto this point, but a Graviton Surge will be a huge point in this fight. Wacko gets a triple using that push bomb. Fletch trying to finish off players, but he will not be able to do so. Team Project with a clean wipe onto nerdRage.
See, and this is the thing. Everyone was saying, oh, 3 tanks is too strong. It's too strong with Ana. Team Project don't even have an Ana. nerdRage just used a nano boost, and Team Project just responded perfectly. They ran away. They made sure that Winston couldn't make the most out of that nano boost. The Graviton Surge came in, and the amount of DPS that Project have, the more DPS they have over nerdRage, allowed them to win that fight.
Look at Chipser just sweeping up right now, using that Dragon Blade just to annihilate these players. He picked up 4 for himself, or I think it was 3. Christopher 1, and then 2 of them just jump off of the map. Emo, appropriately so, is going to finish himself off, but that is going to be a little bit of a risky joke, actually, I think. That one, but it is now going to be nerdRage regrouping. They're going to be pushing back in once again. Let's see if they can actually get themselves on the map right now. 40 points down, but this is going to be a great Graviton Surge with a Winston in there as well, just tasering everybody alive. Sev and Wacko, the last 2 remaining, but won't last long. And here we go, nerdRage, they're back in control.
And that was the push that they needed. Now they have Nano Boost to work with as well. And actually, Emo didn't even have to use his Primal Rage, so he's going to have that as kind of a last-ditch defender. It's also fantastic on this map as well, because when you are in Primal Rage, you can just whack those players off the map and just completely take them out of the game. As we do see him going to Primal Rage whilst they are on the bridge, he tries to hit as many players off the map as possible, but he's also keeping them out of the fight as well as his teammates are trying to take down the rest of Project. But unfortunately, a few of his teammates have gone down.
Yeah, absolutely. While he's been on this backline, the rest of his team has been scrapping away. Sev will finish off the giant monkey in the end, but it's still a scrap over the point at this stage. Suspect going to be re-entering the fray, though. Sev behind him can't quite land the hook there, and will actually get finished off by Chipser, who's arrived back on the site, using that Dragon Blade to great effect once more, finds 3 for himself. Chipser has been a standout player here on Lijiang Tower for the side of Team Project.
Now that is twice that Nano Boost has been used from nerdRage, and it just hasn't worked for them, so perhaps we might see them kind of trying to change their strategy, maybe change who they're going to be putting that Nano Boost on. They might wait for Reaper of Fletch to be getting that as the hook does come out, but now we see Emo rushing in, but the Graviton Surge has come down on the bridge, and all the damage is coming out as Ginger goes down. 4 go down now for nerdRage. This is the push Project needed, as Emo is the last player surviving for nerdRage, but he's going to be made quick work of by Chipser.
I thought Chipser was actually going to jump off the map himself there for a second, but does manage to grasp onto the edge and keep himself alive. And well, 10 points remaining before they win out this map. Team Project are on the cusp of going 1-0 up in this series right now. Suspect going to be able to go whole hog on his opponents, but is it going to be enough for his team? He's going to get melted down himself. Look at how low the health bars are right now. Team Project doing a fantastic job. No ultimates available on either side as Fletch has to go into Wraith Form just to survive this fight. 99 points. If anyone leaves for just a second, it will be the game going to Project. And can they hold on to this one right now? Emo, incredibly low. Deansy as well, doing his very best, but I don't know if his best is enough at this stage. We've got Chipser back onto the scene. Will get finished off. Nano Boost onto the likes of Suspect. Maybe they can actually win out this fight. There's a Sleep Dart just to get some CC down. And with the Nano Boost on top of things, the damage should be there, but they can't quite finish off all of these players. Yeah,
Suspect's doing really well to stay alive, but he's trying to allow his teammates to get there, but now this is going to be just too much, as overtime will finish. Project will win the tiebreaker, and that is going to feel pretty sore for nerdRage after such an impressive performance on King's Row. Team Project will go 1-0 up.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic stuff coming out from Team Project in the end there. Obviously, that was a tiebreaker, so we only do a singular round of Lijiang Tower, and that means we do now, after 2 maps, see that Project are going to be 1-0 up in this best of 3. So nerdRage, as you rightly say, had a fantastic performance there on King's Row, but if they can't quite finish the job, then we do go to the tiebreaker, and that means it's now Project 1-0 up in this best of 3. And now I believe we move on to Hollywood, another hybrid map. So let's see if we have a similar performance from these teams.
Yeah, and nerdRage have looked better defensively, so I'm thinking on Hollywood, if they can kind of get a better early hold, they might be able to take this map from Team Project. But the thing is with Team Project, and similarly to what we saw from Endpoint in the first week actually, they kind of read their opponents, they've learnt their composition a little bit, and then they've decided what their composition is going to be around that. They're very good at switching. The switch to McCree in the King's Row game to take down that Pharaoh was a very calculated, a good move, and clearly either the in-game leader called it to do that, or he saw himself that he needed to do that. So they are a team that are going to make these changes, they are going to make these decisions. So it's interesting from both sides. I think they both know what they want to do, and they both know what compositions they want, but it's going to be who can defend better, I think, because offensively they both look fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely, and I think it's going to be a lot down to actually ultimate usage, because we've seen many situations in that first best of 3 where we actually had kind of nano boosts and things that were just completely hard countered by their opponents. We do have a tweet. I had my money on Team Project before the series began. Looks like it'll be a very close series. You're absolutely right there, Flares. Flares actually one of the players from Group A as well, so glad to see that they are keeping in touch with what's going on the other side of the bracket. But here we go. Be jumping onto Hollywood for the second game in this series. And I mean, I just mentioned how I think it's going to be a lot down to ultimate usage. I think it's also going to be a lot down to how well these teams can play around the ultimates, and that's exactly what we saw at Project there on Lijiang Tower. We saw that as soon as that nano boost came out, they immediately backed away at the start of the fight, just give them as much room as they need, and then once the nano boost is down, re-engage and make that fight happen.
Yeah, they were doing so well to avoid the nano boost, and I think that was key. And especially in control game types, I mean, I don't think you do need that Ana, but it just didn't work out, unfortunately, for nerdRage, and it does look like they're going to go for that 3-tank composition again, perhaps, on the side of Team Project. Just the 2 tanks. No, just, yeah, we've got Zaya and Reinhardt. Reinhardt obviously coming out of Christopher. He's been doing real work with him today. But I think we have to credit, actually, the performance of Darius and Tomsy as the support characters. I mentioned it after the first series, how well they stick with their team and how well they heal their team. They are literally everywhere across the map. Tomsy's movement is absolutely fantastic. He knows exactly where his tanks are. He knows where he needs to be. He manages to avoid damage as well. And he also manages to push away those important teams. With that right click of Lucio, he's able to kind of zone out certain players, and he's been doing it well so far in this series. And now we need to see Project, how are they going to hold out here on this first point?
Well, there's only one way to find out as we are going to jump into this fight. nerdRage on the offensive to kick off Hollywood. Let's see if they make a movie out of this one or whether it's going to be Team Project who are able to edge this one out and turn it into a bit more of an indie film, but I don't know what that analogy was. Here we go. nerdRage slow push coming in here. They're not wanting to go too aggressive on this one. And actually, with Fletch up on the top, he is going to get caught out, I believe, there by Wacko, who was going for the flank, but did actually turn around in the end and use that Wraith just to get on out of there. But a nice ice wall isolates the enemy tank. It is going to be Emo that gets taken out to start things off, and that forces nerdRage to back away.
Yeah, I think this is perhaps what Project missed a little bit, was just this incredible work from Chipser as May. He ice-walled off completely that Reinhardt, and it just meant that he was caught off guard. Emo wasn't able to do anything, and we saw it happen a couple of times on Kings Row, but if they can continue to do it on Hollywood, they can really frustrate their opponent, and nerdRage will need to find a way to take out this May from the game.
Absolutely. Well, they're back onto the point at this stage. DC is going to be going down. It's 2 for 2 right now as Emo pushes back onto the point. He's got that nano boost, but he's going to get completely frozen up and will get finished off for it. Chipser finding himself a lot of damage and nice use of the ice wall just to get himself some map positioning. Force away Fletch on the Hanzo and get themselves control of that A point once again. I thought that was getting a little bit dicey for them, but they regain control of the situation.
This is what Project did so well in that first series. As soon as their opponents have one of those nano boosts, they always have a way to deal with it. If it's a Blizzard or if it's a Graviton Surge, they know that they need to use those defensively rather than offensively, and it's great work from them to really know when those ultimates are going to come out. We see 4 ultimates ready for Project compared to just the 2 on the hands of the nerdRage, so expect Project to now take it to nerdRage here.
Yeah, absolutely. Wacko does get that nano boost, but not quite able to find himself kills immediately. And now we're going to see whether or not they can actually win out this fight. Chipset and Christopher both have found one, but Suspect trades it straight back on that Roadhog in the middle of the team fight, but he will get wiped out. Emo swinging his hammer left, right, and center, but will get frozen up and should get finished off here as well. There's no way he should be allowed to leave. And there we go. nerdRage so far really struggling to actually get this first capture point, and this spells kind of bad things for them on the rest of Hollywood.
It definitely does, especially because I said nerdRage are very good attacking, but Project have just been focusing so well. We saw that Reinhardt was the last member of the team for nerdRage there. Emo was the last one to go down, and that's because Project said, look, we need to take out the support first, then we'll take out the DPS as the Graviton Surge comes in, as well as the Blizzard. And nerdRage are just sitting ducks right now as the hammer comes in swinging from Christopher. That's another wipe for them. Just Suspect left as Roadhog, but he is just going to be dominated by the whole team as they are just toying with him now, keeping him alive for as long as possible just to delay that next push from nerdRage.
Yeah, you got to say, like, well, that was an absolutely fantastic little wombo combo coming out from Team Project. Complete wipe on 6 players. Only used 2 ultimates for it as well. So fantastic position for them. They're still going to have that nano boost available, and Christopher has his Earth Shatter, which, you know, that deadly combo itself could be enough. But here we go. Nano boost does end up coming out right now, and it's going to be onto Wacko himself. And there's a Death Blossom as well. Pushes on forward. Will find himself another kill, and actually somehow survives that one. I was sure he was going to go down, but the rest of his team will support him. And once again, nerdRage just keep getting split up in these fights and then taken apart.
And that's what May can do. May just really controls and really segregates a team, but credit to Christopher, he used that Earth Shatter to stop the nano boost that came down onto Emo of nerdRage. They were really able to control that fight, and now there's not going to be a nano boost left for nerdRage for this final push. Fletch needs to do something with this Dragon Strike to be able to try and get a few kills as they push into this point now.
Yeah, 1 second remaining. They do manage to push it into overtime. It is now or never. Fletch does get frozen up and will get finished off. Chipser on 2 kills, Wacko on 1 for himself, and there's only 3 players remaining for nerdRage, and I don't think that's enough players for them. Graviton Surge on top of everything will be enough to finish off this round. Suspect doing his very best just to kite around and be an absolute pain but it will not be enough. He goes down. Dragon Strike comes through, but that cannot extend overtime. There we have it. It is going to be Project with a perfect defense against nerdRage.
Dragon Strike coming in a little bit too late for Fletch. I would have liked him just to try something. They had their backs against the wall anyway. Just an early Dragon Strike, maybe to try and take out a Reinhardt, to take out the Mage, just take out someone so that you can push on to that point. Instead, they pushed in blind, they pushed in naked, and they weren't able to get anything against Project there. So I was questioning. I said nerdRage defend better than Project, but Project really showed me up there. That's how you defend on Hollywood, not even allowing nerdRage to get to that first payload.
Absolutely, and well, Project, all they have to do is capture the A point. And the other thing that you were saying before this series was basically these two teams fantastic on attack. And let's see whether that's going to be the case, because if Project can get one solid attack here, they are going to take the map instantly. And let's just bear in mind how close King's Row was. We went to a decider for King's Row, and here on Hollywood, nerdRage, they couldn't even get the first point. And now Team Project, to be honest, with 4 minutes on the clock, you've got to assume that they should be able to do this one. Sev going to be picking up the Widowmaker here. Obviously still 40 seconds to pick, so I don't want to go too in depth, but I was going to suggest maybe that could be a similar vein to what we saw out of, was it Fletch that was playing the Hanzo last round?
Yeah, it was. And I think it's interesting from nerdRage. They did so well in King's Row, if not better in King's Row than Project, and then they switched up their composition, and now they're going for these 3 tanks, and it feels like perhaps they're not comfortable with this composition. It's just playing into the hands of Project, who have just stuck with their guns. We will see Wacko now changing to the Roadhog, so actually offensively, Project will go for 3 tanks for the first time as well. Perhaps they saw it out of nerdRage, and they found those team battles were just a little bit too difficult to win, and they know that if they are going to go for the same composition defensively, they do need to kind of match those tanks just to have that kind of absorbing damage there with those tanks there.
Here we go. Time for the attack to kick off. Wacko going to be on that Roadhog and already grabs himself a hook. Fantastic shield comes out from Deansy though. That was absolutely clutch from him and basically keeps his team in the game at this stage.
Yeah, if that hook had come down on Lucio, that could have absolutely changed everything, as we are now seeing a hook off from both of these Roadhogs, and both players actually doing very well as Roadhogs to get those hooks in, but the support has been fantastic. The sleep darts and the shields have been too strong from the Zayas and from the Annas. So credit to these support characters, they really know when to use those abilities.
Certainly do, and Chipser going to be on that Hanzo once again, just plowing out as much damage as is physically possible at this stage, just trying to delete these players if he can. Graviton Surge comes on through though, and this should be a fight going the way of nerdRage. They've picked up a couple for themselves, should be able to finish these off, but Christopher has the nano boost. He's doing a good bit of damage, but he's all on his own at this stage and will have to back away. Suspect grabs one for himself as well. And there we have it, nerdRage still holding strong. That's 1 minute down, and all they have to do is 2 3/4 more minutes, and they will be able to push this to a bit of overtime for themselves. But is that going to be enough? That's the question.
Yeah, Chipset does have a Dragon Strike available, so he might just fire this one just to maybe try and clear the payload a little bit. But we see King JC with the ultimate as well, so he's going to be able to put that nano boost onto someone. As now here comes the Dragon Strike. It might be able to take down a few players, but unfortunately it does actually miss everybody. But like I said, it does force them away from the point.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. It forces them away and stops them fighting in this fight. Wacko does manage to find himself a hook and a kill onto Emo. Graviton Surge as well as a whole hog. This is going to be a fantastic push coming out from Team Project. Could well be the end of the game and the end of the series, unless we see something come out of nerdRage. There's another hook onto Fletch. That will finish him off. The support's jumping on, just trying to contest at this point, trying to stop this getting capped. But Chipser does manage to find himself yet another kill on the Hanzo. There's another one for Wacko and Tomsy. And look at this, the point is almost captured, 2/3 of the way done. Here comes the tanks once again, but Emo gets shut down by the likes of Wacko. Those shotguns coming into play. And there we have it. What a quick game coming out from Project. They managed to take that map in 2 minutes. It's a 1-0 final scoreline. And regrettably for nerdRage, it is going to be a 2-0 overall in favor of Project.
I feel like nerdRage played into the hands of Project by switching up their composition a little bit, especially how well they were playing in King's Row. Perhaps they felt like Project were reading them too much and they wanted to change something up, but credit to Project, they defended well and then they attacked well. They used their ultimates perfectly. You said before it's going to be who can use their ultimates better. And defensively especially, like Chips as May was absolutely ridiculous. I'm not just saying that because he got player of the game, but the amount of times those blizzards and those ice walls came in and really just